Hey everybody, it's Eddie J on CryptoForGrowMyBag.tv. Hope you're having a good one. What's good? What's good? What's good? Tonight's question. Do you think we are approaching another crypto winter? Yes, no, maybe so. If you think other, put it in the comments. I honestly want to know what is on your mind. I mean, when you think about it, you're always approaching a crypto winter, right? Seriously, all jokes aside, we're always approaching a crypto winter. And that's fine. Because not everything always goes up, right? Sooner or later, you're going to come down. You're going to have a crypto winter, whatever. But my question is more like, are we quickly approaching a crypto winter like now? Hello, Paula. What's good? What's good? What's good? Thank you for letting me know that you have invested in yourself, that you've taken the time to better yourself. That's what's up. That is honestly what's up. So yeah, when I look at everything that's going on right now, as I often do on a daily basis, many a time a day, I start to think about just what's the economic climate, right? And it sounds crazy, but if you look at Wall Street votes, right? If the market goes up, they like something. If the market goes down, they don't like something. What did the market do today? What did the market do today? Didn't the market go down? Didn't the market go down like a lot? That's the market saying, yeah, I kind of don't like what you're doing. That's what the market is saying. And it could be me. It could be me. But that's literally what I think what the market is saying. I mean, you're down over 500 points, right? Dead cat bounce. Have you invested in yourself today? The rule's going to be I'm not going to interact with anybody that doesn't answer that question first. I know you have. But I need you to say it. Because it's inspiring to everybody else. So the market votes. And that vote can be powerful. That vote is like, yeah, nah, dog, we're not digging what you're saying. You know what I mean? Oh, you've been working all day. That's investing in yourself. You know, I mean, you have to know your business. I happen to know what business you're in. You have to know your business. That's kind of investing in yourself. But if you're watching the show or listening to it, you're kind of investing in yourself now. Because I know you. You'll hear something and then you'll go and you'll, do your own research. Because what do? The GMB 3. Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. Seriously. I mean, people think it's funny, but, I'm like dead serious about it. It's a serious thing. Right. And most people don't get that. Most people don't get it or they don't want to get it. And I'm like, well, that's on you. But a lot of people I see, they're all about it. Aw, I believe I sent you something and you have yet to respond. But okay, that's just me. Okay. Shalom, investing in myself in the morning, in the day, and in the evening. That's what's up. How you doing, Lex Luthor? Now, what, 2 weeks ago? I think it was 2 weeks ago that I told you that Ripple was buying Hidden Road. Get the play? Hidden Road, Silk Road. Just saying. The big deal about Hidden Road is that Hidden Road is a broker dealer. You want to know what happened to that broker dealer today after they bought it for $1.25 billion? Securing a broker dealer license to offer multi-asset prime brokerage using XRP Ledger for rapid settlements and RLUSD as collateral, expanding Ripple's institutional financial tools. Let me say that again in English because I kind of garbled that. They secured a broker-dealer license to offer multi-asset prime brokerage using XRP Ledger for rapid settlements and RLUSD as collateral, expanding Ripple's institutional financial tools. I told you before that Ripple's premise was always going to be XRP Ledger, is always going to be institutions. It was born from that, and they're sticking to it. That's why XLM exists. So, yeah, that's not something that you're going to invest in in XRP for, because there's no mention of XRP. They're using XRP Ledger for rapid settlements. They're using that blockchain because XRP Ledger is the blockchain. XRP is a layer 2 running on top of that blockchain. Ta-da! This is how they're going to blow out RLUSD and make money. They bought a piggy bank. And if you really stop and you think about this, the whole point of this, for me, I told you there are going to be ways that you can invest. Sooner or later, Ripple's going to go IPO. And that's how you'll invest and take benefit from all of this stuff. Unfortunately, unless you're already an insider, meaning you already had big money and you were able to get in on the investments, you're out. You're out of that investment opportunity. I don't even understand that sentence. Please restate it. Lex Luthor, restate that sentence. It's not a sentence. It's not a question. I don't get it. I need a little bit more sentence structure there. I'm serious. I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what any of that means. It's a little choppy. But think about that. They're trying to big up RLUSD and they're giving it a reason. They bought a use case and they're demonstrating the use case. And they'll make money from the use case. So what they're saying is XRP Ledger is crazy fast, crazy secure. You should use it. And here's an example. Coin is just used to fund their proper business without giving back to investors. So you're saying XRP, the coin, because XRP is only a coin, is just used to fund their their real business without giving back to investors. So when I teach the class on learning how to, on doing your own research, one of the things that I say to everybody is this a business parading as a coin, or is this a coin parading as a business? And then who's involved and all that other good stuff that goes into it. But that's what I talk about. Ripple never hid anything. Now, when they initially got started, I can honestly say that, how they did it. They were looking to launch a coin to make money to do their business. Yes. And then they got in trouble. They got smacked around on the wrist for it. And they had to pay, $250 million for it. Plus all that time, 4 years. Oh, excuse me. And then they had to flip their business model a bit to move away from XRP and move toward XRPL, which is what they own. And so, no. Yes. But then you could also say that, you could say that for any layer 1, right? There's a coin and then there's the blockchain. Sometimes that layer 1, their coin and their blockchain, they treat it as one and the same, and other times they're separate. I would not go around making those kinds of comparisons. It's a business model difference. XLM was born, or Stellar was born, because Ripple was all about institutions and not about the people. And XLM, or the Stellar team, really wanted to find ways to help the underserved. They wanted to help people. One of the reasons why they snatched up MoneyGram. Yeah. Who was it that snatched? I forgot who snatched up Western Union. Don't really hear about it that much. Or who invested in Western Union. Nobody cares. But it was a big deal to get involved with MoneyGram. It was a very big deal. Smart move, actually. Very smart move. But I wouldn't make comparisons like that, only because the business model is so different in their approaches. Technically correct, but confusing, because it kind of conflates certain things, right? And that becomes confusing. So I wouldn't do that with those two. What I would compare is Stellar to Ripple. I wouldn't compare XLM to XRPL at all, because XRPL is the ledger. XLM is a coin and their blockchain. It's one and the same. That's how they treat it. So it's Ripple versus, not versus. They cater to different areas. Do you know what I mean? So technically true, but technically not so much. And it doesn't matter. There's really, they're completely different in what they're trying to do, what their use cases are, and everything else. Either can do what the other one does, but they're very hyper focused on the space that they're in. And because they're hyper focused on the space that they're in, I don't compare the two like that. It's not quite the same. It's not quite apples to apples. You have to dig in and get into it. Yeah. It's crazy hard to describe. Unless you've done your research and you've walked down that rabbit hole and you really understand, how that happened and how this guy left to go over here to do this. And it's a long, and then you also have to have an understanding about how Ripple got started and that history. And yeah, it gets ugly. So I don't compare at that level. I compare organization to organization level, right? It's easier to do that. It's far easier to do that. Because even for us that actually are in the know, you sit there and it hurts your head, even if you have all of that information. And then, unless you're interested, you don't even care about that. Unless you're interested, you don't care about that. You're at the higher level and you're just saying, well, XLM goes toward regular people and Ripple goes toward institutions. The thing that always got me, while Ripple was going through all of that, right? While Ripple was going through all of that, here come the S02E62 coins. They're all about institutions. They're going to be big. And they're growing, right? Some of them are doing their thing, but they're not nearly as embedded as Ripple. Have you looked at XDC versus Ripple? Take a look at any one of them. IOTA. What is it? Quant. Take a look at any one of them and compare them to Ripple. No. That's not happening. Now, something about XRP that I wanted to bring to everybody's attention while we're on this topic. Here's the one cool thing about XRP and XRPL as a combination, right? XRP is good enough for retail usage. It's fast. It's almost wicked fast. So literally you could walk into a store and boop, boop, and walk out. It's that fast. By the time you take 3 steps, transaction's over. They got their money. Imagine. And it changes the business model. Because your risk factor as a business owner is diminished immensely. Because if you bought that product, you bought it. Now, if you want to return that product, well, now the onus is on you to actually say, this is what I want to do. And then you can actually understand a restocking fee, because I have to pay fees to send you back your money. And then I actually do have to restock it. But now it's up to the store if they're going to accept your stuff or not. Now, what balances that out is customer service and reputation, right? I think I like that business model more. And not just because I would host their websites and handle their point of sale systems and take care of it for them. It's because I just think it's a better model. There are literally checks and balances built in. Better than that is that the store gets all of their money. The store gets all of their money. No, nothing. You're not taking out credit card fees or anything. When you buy something, you pay for everything. If there's tax involved, you pay the tax. If there's a gas fee involved, you pay the gas fee. And you send the fee off to pay for the transaction, and then the rest of it goes to the store, and then they go handle their taxes and all that other good stuff. But they get all of their money. So if something's $49.95, they're gonna get that $49.95. Yeah. So now their risk model in business changes. You're not gonna walk in and say, oh, well, somebody stole my crypto. That's not my problem, son. I can't do anything about that. Somebody stole your credit card? That's a shame. You should be more careful. Sounds crazy. Sounds absolutely crazy. But I think your crypto becomes more secure. Why? Because it's more secure than your credit card. How many people have, push the button and your credit card shows up and boop, boop, because they don't feel like logging in first and then doing the boop, boop. Aha. So you lose your phone, but I still have access to your crypto. I lose my phone, I'm automatically blowing it up. That's it. I don't care about what's on the phone. I don't care. It's gone. You're not doing anything. And I don't care if I find my phone 5 minutes later. It's gone. I will brick a phone in a heartbeat. I'll absolutely brick a phone in a heartbeat. But I think you'd be more careful in the use of your crypto. You're not just going to run around willy-nilly doing whatever. And then, of course, there are products that enable you to use a credit card for your crypto and blah, 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 blah. But it's not like I can just yank your card and go running around and using it. I've got to log into my phone, open up my app, log in, and then I get to boop, boop. Yeah. Special. Very special. Right? So without walking down the road too much just about XRP, I'm talking about just the use of, crypto in retail situations. That rolls us into how many small businesses, because of these tariffs, are about to take a hit or have already taken a hit because they can't afford to fly X number of tons of product on planes so that they can get here fast. They don't have that kind of money. So you might actually start seeing some stores that, I can't, the stuff that you get from us normally, we're not going to have, or we're going to have it, but it's going to cost 2.5 times more money. Who does the tariff hit? Who pays for the tariff? Whoever's on record for importing those goods is responsible for paying the tariff. Yeah. That tariff comes out of our pocket. How does it come from other countries? Nobody's yet to explain to me how that comes from other countries. It hurts the other countries because then they won't be able to sell into that market. But the payment comes from whoever's importing. There's the rub. There's the rub. I ran across some useful stuff for discerning potential scam projects tied to mine. You should become a Big Bagger member and post that on the website. Hutanik, I want you to think about what's going on with Mantra. I want both of you to think about what's going on with Mantra. Your last sentence, Hutanik, says a lot. I saw a video, I saw a podcast with the founder. He is still clueless as to what happened. Let that wash over you for a minute. He's clueless. So he's dumb. He doesn't know what's going on. Wasn't involved. Who was involved? Who's the brains behind the operation? Like, there's so many questions that I would have. He's a nice guy. They really are asking exchanges to show the transactions. A good clueless. I think right now he's trying to protect his name. He could be a smart guy, but honestly, the forensics haven't been done. He doesn't understand how it happened. To me, there had to be somebody on the inside, or a market maker. But it sounds like somebody on the inside that made a move that he didn't understand what they were doing, or thought it was normal course of business until he found out. So, it's a far cry from there was a scandal at the beginning of the project, and then a while after, that's when they started taking off. That's when they started doing stuff. But there was a scandal back here. Is it the same people that were involved? So think about that. He turned his pants pockets inside. Yeah, I ain't got that kind of money. Or I hid it really well. Did he sound smart enough to hide it well? So when you're dissecting a rug pull, there are a lot of people out there that can tell you, oh, I know how to tell what a rug pull is. Lex Luthor, I'm not saying that you haven't figured out a couple of things for yourself, but there are a lot of people out there that can say, oh, well, based on this, that, and the other, you can always tell that it's a... No, you can't. No, you can't. And I've got a prime example of how you can't. Right? I mean, sometimes they're not rug pulls. Sometimes they're faux pas. Sometimes they're just massive mistakes. Yeah. Sometimes it's not a rug pull. That's why I always ask, well, who's involved? There are some people that are known for rug pulls. Yeah. Jason, remember Jason? We were talking about Jason for a while. Yeah. That involved one of the guys. So Jason Derulo took the hit. Right? He's fine. He's got money. He's fine. But the other person's name is not as well known as Jason Derulo. Right? People in the industry know that person's name, but those people just fade. They just fade away. They're still there, but they just fade away. Nobody's really talking about their names. So yeah, you sit back and you kind of go, oh, yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, it's a $5 billion mistake. Like, you think it's a joke, but what was FTX? FTX was a mistake, wasn't it? They did something, it worked, and they decided to run with it. Had a successful business before all of that happened. Was already mad successful. Already making more money than he could ever dream of. Was doing fine. Ratio-wise, was making more money per employee than almost any company out there. But remember the other night, a few nights ago, I was talking about what's the definition of enough? I told you when I did college recruiting and I spoke to kids, it was always, what kind of life do you want to lead? Realistically. Not, oh, I want 5 Bentleys and 5 houses, a Bentley at each house. And blah, 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 blah. Yeah, nah, that's not what we're talking about. These kids are like, oh, I want a mansion. Do you know how much it costs to upkeep a mansion? Yeah, yeah. The more expensive the house, most likely the more expensive the upkeep. Because and then where it is, it's mandatory to upkeep. Everything's got to be clean and pristine. You know what I mean? So unrealistic. What's the definition of enough? They didn't have a definition for enough, so they kept doing something. They saw something work, and they thought, "Oh, we could just run with that," and they did until it didn't work anymore. A lot of these things that happen out here are from mistakes. When somebody gets hacked, do you think they planned on getting hacked? Now, what do you do to recover? Now, Bybit was hacked for $1.4 billion. That's a lot of money. They're bouncing back. Some companies get hacked and they make a mistake and it leaves them vulnerable, and it happens. It happens. Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. Now look at Mantra. Mantra was doing fine. There were no real telltale signs except that it was still too decentralized. You could say that. Cornell Robinson, what's good? Thank you for letting me know that you're investing in yourself today. So you start to think about, how does that work? Hutanic, erase that, please. Erase that, please. We do have young people that watch. Yeah, erase that. Delete that for me. I'm not saying it's false. But yeah, it's just a little out of sorts. But think about all the people that did research on that. They did research. Even me did research. Who saw that coming? So remember when everybody started pointing their finger at him and oh, you did something wrong and blah, blah, blah. And then, yeah, that guy didn't do anything. That's what's starting to sound like. Oh, that guy didn't really do anything. And then what's the problem? Well, somebody was leading the project that didn't really understand what was going on and how it all worked. That could be just as bad, right? That could be just as bad. So, yeah, you start to wonder about how that works. Right? And that's why I tell you, when I do my research, I'm looking for news, hacks, outages, all that kind of stuff, security issues that can have an impact on my bag. And in certain cases, it can have more of an impact than positive news. Not really. So Lex Luthor, think about that. It had been, if you go back and look at everything, it had been above 100% year to date. And then as the market started going lower, it started dropping. It was not unlike other coins that had been doing well. And then historically were doing well. And then as the market dropped back, it dropped back. Hindsight is a funny thing. Be careful because hindsight is 2020, and you can always turn around and go, oh, well, this happened at that point. We should have seen it. Oh, this happened at that point. We should have seen it. How? Everybody started going down. The market, Ripple was up for a while. Ripple had shot up and was up for a while. Its year to date was looking beautiful. And it's only recently in the past couple of weeks that you're seeing it dip below into the red for year to date earnings. Yeah. So telltale, maybe. When you see that happen to another coin, it's a maybe. The percentage could be high, the percentage could be low, but it's always going to be, okay, that could be a red flag. Okay, now I'm looking. That could be a red flag. And then it's up to you to have your risk framework in place so that you could say, I need one red flag and I'm out? Or is it two red flags? Or is it the weight of the red flags? See where I'm going? If you buy my book on crypto foundations, I actually talk to you about your risk framework. This would go, all the information that you're coming out with right now, that would all go into your risk framework. I would tell you to go find another one, find somewhere between 3 and 5 similar situations and put them through your analysis. And there could be similarities, there could be differences, but that will help you develop your risk framework or a piece of your risk framework, right? A part of your risk framework is going to be, well, how much of a risk am I willing to take? So as I go down the list on CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko and I go, I want to get involved with that coin all the way down there, how much risk am I willing to take for that coin? Like, how much risk exposure am I going to want to have is the real question. Yeah, that's too deep of a conversation for right here. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. But that's why I'm saying you've got to take a few of these situations and put your risk framework together. Because then you have a better understanding about what you think your telltale signs are. So I'm a project manager by trade, right? Certified project manager. And when I identify risk, I say, okay, this is going to be a risk. And then I say, here are the telltale signs that we might realize that risk. That's why I said, here's the first red flag. But I have to know about that kind of red flag. My experience tells me in project management, this is a red flag, that could be a red flag, that could be a red flag. So here's the risk. And if I see one red flag, it doesn't mean that the project is going to fail. But my risk just increased. If I see 2 red flags based on my numbers, the project may or may not fail based on other factors for that project. I get to the third one. Okay, we're in the red. We're realizing that, and we have to implement the mitigation measures. Yeah. So it's more than just, oh, I dissected this one using hindsight. It's how do I look at 5 or 6 of them to understand what's going on? And what I'm describing to you right now is the software that I talk to you about all the time. There's risk management software out there that does this in millions of scenarios, mathematical scenarios. And that's what chief investment officers look at when they're making their investment decisions. What are my risks? And then how strong is my gut? You're literally giving the example. So there's that. Galaxy Research proposed Solana adopt MESA, a new consensus method for validator-driven inflation governance, aiming to accelerate reduction to a 1.5% inflation rate and replace failed single vote mechanisms with market-driven outcomes. You know what that sounds like to me? People have a hard time trusting Solana. For one reason or another. And they really, and look at this. What this means is I really want to work with you, but you've got to brush your teeth more often. You know what I mean? You're going to have to change. You're going to have to change because on my risk framework, it says no. I want to say yes, but when I do my calculations, the bulk of them say no. So go fix yourself and then we can talk. Because one of the funniest things, the reason why I picked out that article is because one of the things that keeps sticking to me is so many people talk about the potential of Solana, but you don't hear about any big companies really digging in and working with Solana. POCs, all that. And it's because I really want to work with you because you say you're really, really fast, but you have things that go on that make us say, nah, we can't take that risk. Like our risk framework says we're willing to go to this level of risk. For you, we'd have to go to that level of risk. And yeah, nah. And so who's in that space that's like just tearing it all up? Ripple. There are a lot. You might not believe it, but even Polygon's up in there. Avalanche is up in there. You have a lot of coins that are up in there just making friends. Avalanche is doing a lot. Avalanche has speed. It has cost efficiency. It's got security. It's got a lot of things that Solana doesn't have. Another solution that's going to start eating Solana's lunch, I think, is going to be Cardano. Same thing. Speed, security. Speed and security are going to be huge. Speed comes out. It's going to be speed. Now, is it going to come down to one coin doing everything? No. I seriously doubt if it's ever going to be one coin doing everything. You're going to have different protocols doing different things for different reasons. And you'll have groups of, so that there's some kind of a fallback, things like that. But I look at Solana and that to me is a big deal. It's like saying, well, you guys should move to this because you guys have some issues. And if you do this, maybe you'll get more people involved. And don't forget, Solana still has that whole, there are question marks about Solana's, decentralization. I don't know what that means. Mag 7 in crypto. I do not know what that means. You're going to have to give me more than, 4 words. A federal judge has paused major crypto lawsuit by 18 state attorneys general against the SEC for 60 days due to leadership change. Because remember, they brought that lawsuit because of frivolous lawsuits before by the SEC. And they said, well, pause for 60 days and let's see what happens. Let's see if, things change. The new guy just started his job. Let's see what he does. Things were falling off even before he started his job. Let's see what happens. What those attorneys general are saying, yeah, those are the top tech stocks. But you said Mag 7 in crypto. I don't know what that means. Your second sentence is a different sentence. So Magnificent 7 are the top tech stocks. Yes. Or what they say the top tech stocks are. Okay, cool. But they try to treat Bitcoin as a tech stock, even though it's not. Yeah, and 7 is not enough for crypto. You're right. 7 is not enough. But back to this whole attorneys general thing. The big thing about that is that they're saying that, yes, there's a regime change at the SEC, but we need the SEC to actually publish these changes before we really want to let go. We'll take the 60-day pause and we'll see what you're going to do. But that doesn't mean that they're going to drop those cases. Because even though the SEC is dropping cases, they're not writing down all too much saying, well, this is this and that is that. That's a major problem. Because it still means that the companies that are working within those states have an issue with, well, that just means that we're not being sued now, but we could be sued later. And the fear is that a lot of these companies will wind up leaving the country and domicile in another country to do business because they don't want to get sued. So it's kind of a big deal. It's a very big deal. And you've got Standard Chartered predicts stablecoin supply could reach $2 trillion, be a $2 trillion business by 2028, with 1.6 trillion in new treasury demand driven by the Genius Act, which would only require fully reserved stablecoins backed by highly liquid US based assets. What does that mean? Oh, the dollar and treasury bonds, debt. Why do you think they're writing that bill to do that? Yeah, because you're not going to sell that debt. You're going to want to hold on to it. Now, I get it. There's a benefit, right? There's a benefit to the United States to doing that. But if you really break it down, is there any difference between that and an algorithmic stablecoin? Risk-wise. Yeah, I don't think so. As a matter of fact, I think the algorithmic stablecoin is much better. Because if I'm going to base my stablecoin on US assets, because they're saying, well, if you're going to say that you're pegged to the dollar, then this is the definition of pegged to the dollar. And I can even understand that. Don't get me wrong. I can even understand that. But you have an economy that has a 36 approaching $37 trillion bill, and you're not necessarily moving in the right directions to decrease the bill. You know what I mean? Like, so 36 approaching $37 trillion in debt. What are we doing to dwarf that? We can't keep thinking that, oh, Powell's got to decrease, the interest rate. Play that out in your head. Write it down even. Powell decreases the interest rate, which I don't think he's going to do in May. And then what? Inflation spikes? Combination of market going up, tariffs, inflation. Massive. I don't see how it wouldn't be massive inflation. And so Powell's like, I don't care what kind of pressure you have. That pressure means nothing to me. I've been here for 5 years. That pressure means jack. Numbers have been my whole life. You people just got here. So I appreciate that about him. Do I agree with everything that he does? No. But we need a steady hand right now. And I don't care. Somebody came at me the other day, and I didn't delete the post or anything, but I'm like, you came at me, but he's had a steady hand. It doesn't matter who he works for, who he actually works for, right? Well, it's a conglomerate. It's a bank club, and blah blah blah. Like, yeah, okay, fine. Even if that's true, so what? This is what he's in charge of. This is his mandate, and he's sticking to his guns because just do the math. Oh, he's always late. Well, yeah, but when he was late the last time, he corrected. And right now, I mean, let me tell you something. I think he was on course. Before all this tariff talk, he was on course. I believe we would have had a rate cut already. But the market was just a little too hot. So he was just, let's just wait one more. And then maybe. But I think we would have had a rate cut. We'd have been able to see a rate cut. But how can you see it now when you keep talking about tariffs that are already raising the price of things? Even with your 90-day wait period, there are still tariffs that you've called for that are in place. Prices go up. And then prices go up anyway because companies are like, well, we need to make more money now so we can try to get these goods in now. I mean, we can't buy a plane and have a plane fly it over. I mean, we're not Apple, but you see what I mean? So I don't see how rate cuts work. So people are talking about, oh, everybody's saying he should have the rate cuts already. I haven't heard that. I've heard it out of one area, the new regime. But then they're saying, oh, we gotta have qualitative easing and easing and blah blah blah. And I'm like, huh? You want us to build more debt while you're giving tax cuts? Mind blown. Is it correct to assume that bond-backed stablecoins made in the USA could protect the USA in the future from situations where China, Japan would decide to no, I don't think so at all. Lieutenant, are you sure that's what they can't dump it without creating more of their fiat to pay it, which creates inflation for them. If they sell, right? If they sell the bonds, they get the money from the bonds. They get the money from those sales. And then they're free to go do whatever it is they're going to do with that, which is probably going to be invested in something else. Something else less risky? It used to be that investing in U.S. debt wasn't risky. You don't think that these countries are thinking, oh, that's a risky choice? $1 trillion in Japan, over $750 billion in China, over $500 billion in London. I mean, in the UK. I mean, I don't understand how they would have to create more of their fiat to pay what? They don't pay, they get paid. Yeah, so they can make loans. But there's a risk factor in it all. And they're also thinking, well, I can go invest in something else and continue doing what I do. But notice how Japan held 1 trillion. I think it was like 1.1 trillion. They only sold $50 billion. They didn't want to rock their boat. I get what you're saying. They don't want to rock their boat. They didn't want to rock their boat too much, but they wanted to send a clear sign. Our boat will get rocked, but yours could get sunk. And I think it was a message of, you're not being realistic with your approach. Cut it out. I think that's what happened. It's like your real message, Lieutenant, to me, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, sounds more like, if they do it, they get messed up. If we do it, we get messed up. We started it, and they're responding in kind. That if that's the hill you want to die on, right? And it's kind of like, you don't want to do that. Like, what was on your mind? That's why I keep saying, like, how much do we import from Japan now versus how much we import from? The other night I said we do $500 million worth of, it's not $500 million, it's $500 billion. Like $438 billion are imported from, goods and services are imported from China. How does that compare? How does that stack up to everybody else? We import 458 or something like that. We export 150 something in billions. And again, I point to the whole tariff thing just being a red herring. It's a big fat red herring. And it was handled improperly. We could have been having these talks without all of the chaos. It is, except it's not funny. It's like there's a cyber war going on. Nobody really talks about that. But when you hear about all these hacks, that's war. North Korea is at war against the rest of the world. Yeah. A cyber war. But you get to a point where you're kind of like, you could have picked up the phone and handled this. Unlike cyber wars. A trade imbalance, you could have picked up the phone and been like, hey, can we talk about this? We could have done that. But we didn't. We just came out not aiming and just shooting our gun all over the place. And we're still paying for it. Because we're still not seeing this is how it should be done. We're talking. Notice how it's really hard for them to say what countries they're speaking with. We know it's Japan. We know it's England. We know it's UK. But did we have to pick a fight with our friends? And then other people saying, well, he had to disrupt everything and blah, blah, blah. Until people start losing their jobs. Literally start losing the farm. Can't afford to put food on the table because prices are so high. We don't know yet. Actually, if we grade every step right now, in my book, he's failing. Now, you let that play out and you see what happens. We'll see what happens. But we can't complain about importing, right? We can't complain about lopsided trade if we're not sending out stuff. There's only but so much agricultural stuff that we can send. Food, equipment, there's only but so much. Well, agriculture and like war, food, equipment, weapons. Serious true. So, there's a lot to weigh. And then you have the ECB lowering their rates. They're lowering their rates. And everybody's like, well, see, the ECB lowered their rates. We should be lowering ours too. Last time I checked, Europe always hurts more than the United States whenever there's a downturn. So their general economy is different than ours. They don't have the mechanisms that we have. That's not an apples to apples comparison. Oh, they lowered their rates. It's not the same. Yeah, for the 7th time. Their economy is not our economy. And again, they do not have the levers that we have. Go research, what levers they have. They don't have the same ones we have. So yeah, I mean, you start to realize you're not comparing apples to apples. You're just saying, well, they did it. I thought we were supposed to be leaders. There are a lot of smart people out there that can figure out how to bring down the deficit. There really are. I use the word austerity, not lightly. Not lightly. People are freaking out over taxes, but when you look at the taxes when you look at what's been passed by the House right now, the lower you are in your income, the more in taxes you pay. The more you earn in your income, the less in taxes you pay. What is the number? I think it's 950, 940, something like that, but it's above $900,000 earned. You actually wind up getting a tax cut. Like you get to keep more. It's like a 1.3 at 9 point something. And then once you go over, I think $1 million and change, it's 1.2. How is that good for anybody that we're taxing the lowest level people the most and the highest earners the least? That's why people are freaking out. That's what's out there right now. That's what they're weighing right now. And I'll say something else. Both parties are to blame in the United States. I'm not saying this is a party problem. I'm saying this is a government problem. It is what it is. Do I think they have smart people in the new regime that could figure this out and do it the right way? Yeah. Scott Bessent's not a stupid guy. Not stupid. You have a bunch of people there that are not stupid. We just have to make sure that they are successful for the whole country, not just the few. We should be successful for the whole country. Again, go do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. And as a part of that research, go look up that tax framework and how it would affect people at the various ranges of earnings. It'll be amazing. You'll be amazed. You will be amazed. And that's what worries a lot of people. I'm going to get taxed more than the person earning literally 10 times what I earn. Make it make sense. Shouldn't that kind of like be reversed? Because they can afford it. They can afford it. Or even just everybody pays this amount. That's it. And for that amount, here's what you get. Wouldn't that be awesome? If you pay this flat amount of taxes, these are the services that you get from your government. That'd be amazeballs. Amazeballs. But until that happens, I'm just investing. I'm not saving, I'm investing. I'm investing as much as I can. As much as I can. Because it's tough out there. It really is tough. Right? The outlook that we're getting from Coinbase's April report warns of a possible 41% crypto market crash from December peaks, citing declining valuations, falling VC investment, and bearish technical indicators, though long-term fundamentals remain cautiously optimistic. Investing for survival. Yep. I just want to be able to put food on the table. I just want to be able to put food on the table. I'm not trying to buy 5 mansions with 5 Bentleys in the driveways. I just want to be able to put food on the table. I want my kids to be able to put food on the table. I want my grandchildren my future grandchildren be able to put food on the table. I want my legacy to be able to put food on the table. And with every day that passes, that affects our bags, with everything that affects our bags, we really have to stop and think about, is what they're doing now going to help us? Or is it going to hurt us? And we need to start thinking a little bit more deeply about who we put in office and how long they're in office. There are a lot of people that don't run for president because they can stay as a senator for like 50 years. Congressman, 50 years. There's no limit on that. And so we have to understand that the longer people are in Washington, the more removed they are from the everyday person. And that's who we're talking about, is the everyday person in the United States. Around the world, you could have a similar situation. And that's why I invest. That's why I do all the research and all that good stuff. How quickly realities change. Oh, wow. That's a good one. Yep. How quickly did reality change? How well were we doing before that T word came out? We were doing well. And then that T word came out and everybody got shook. And we haven't recovered from that yet. When the market goes down 500 points, the market is telling you, yeah, we don't agree with what you're saying. We don't agree with it. I'm going to pull out my cash. I'm going to put it over here for a little while because I don't agree with what you're saying. That's what the market is saying when that happens. Now, will it eventually come back and all that good stuff? Sure, of course. But that's a vote. That's a vote. The street does not like what you're doing. Main Street definitely doesn't like what you're doing, but Wall Street doesn't like it either. So it's a problem when you have Wall Street and Main Street on the same page. That's a wake-up call. That's an absolute wake-up call. We need to manage our economy better. Way better, far better. We need to start helping. Companies have proven that they cannot figure out what is enough. I think we need to start helping them figure out what is enough. There's no reason for a company to come to be in business and get tax breaks when you're making that kind of money. Tell me I'm wrong. You're making that kind of money and you deserve tax breaks? Even if we say, yo, go earn whatever it is you can earn, go on. But tax breaks should go away. That and nothing is there is no single point solution. It's going to be a multi-pronged solution that would solve our problems without pissing off our friends and enabling our enemies or so-called enemies. Our biggest enemy is here, in my humble opinion. That's why I try to invest. Yeah. So your answer is no. Okay. Thank you for letting me know you invested in yourself. How you doing, A-Pause? So yeah, I think that you be having a more educated opinion, a more educated approach to managing your bags is a very big deal. Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. That helps you formulate an opinion about what's going on and better evaluate the risks that are out there that could have an adverse effect on what you're doing. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. Hope you like what I'm doing. If you do me a favor, smash the likes, tell your friends about us, and have them join the big baggers. Or just become a regular bagger so you can see the over 8,000 articles that we have. Just saying. Everybody, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And as always, thank you for your trust. I greatly appreciate you. Have a great night. Bye-bye.